The footage did not arrive loudly. It slipped in a way rumors always do. Shared in fragments, whispering captions, reposted with cropped edges and unanswered questions. At first, it felt ordinary, almost forgettable, the kind of clip that passes through timelines and disappears by morning. But this one refused to vanish. It lingered. It echoed. It stayed close to you, Menglong, like a shadow that learned his steps, following him through seasons, premieres, silences, and sudden pauses. The kind of footage that doesn't scream, but breathes quietly until everyone leans in to listen. What made it unsettling was not what it clearly showed, but what it suggested. The camera angle was wrong. The timing felt accidental. The context incomplete. People replayed it not to confirm what they saw, but to chase what they couldn't. Every frame felt like it belonged to a larger story that had been cut mid-sentence. Yu Menglong appeared briefly, not performing, not posing, just existing in a moment that didn't seem meant for an audience. That alone made it powerful. Celebrities are usually seen when they want to be seen. This was different. This was a glimpse without permission, a moment without a script. As the clip circulated, it began to merge with earlier whispers. Old interviews were rewatched. Casual remarks suddenly felt loaded. A pause here, a glance there. Things once ignored were now examined under a brighter, harsher light. Fans noticed patterns they swore they had missed before. The story started to rhyme with previous chapters of his public life, aligning too neatly to be dismissed. A delayed project here, a quiet disappearance there, an unexplained shift in trajectory that once felt coincidental now felt connected. The scenes that followed were almost cinematic. Yu Menglong stepping into events with a composed expression that didn't quite reach his eyes. Smiles that arrived on time, but left early. Red carpets where questions were carefully chosen, answers carefully shaped. Each appearance felt like a continuation of the same unfinished verse. The footage was never mentioned directly, yet it hovered in the background of every interaction, unspoken but present, like a word everyone agreed not to say out loud. Online, theories bloomed the way they always do when silence meets curiosity. Some claimed the clip revealed too much. Others argued it revealed nothing at all, that the real story was a reaction, not the footage itself. But even the skeptics couldn't deny its persistence. Years passed, and still the clip resurfaced, stitched into new edits, paired with dramatic music, reframed with fresh captions that promised answers but delivered only deeper questions. It became less about the original moment and more about its aftermath, how one piece of unexplained footage could quietly reshape a narrative. What made it mind-blowing was the absence of resolution. There was no official statement that closed the door, no clear denial that erased doubt, no confirmation that satisfied belief. Instead, there was a careful, almost poetic avoidance. Yu Menglong continued his work, but with noticeable restraint, as if every step forward was measured against an invisible line drawn by that single clip. The industry noticed. Opportunities shifted. Conversations changed tone. The rhythm of his career adjusted, subtly but unmistakably. In hindsight, the footage felt like a turning point disguised as a footnote. Before it, the story flowed one way, steady, predictable, upward. After it, the narrative fractured into echoes. Each new project was received with an added layer of scrutiny. Each silence felt louder than before. Fans debated whether the clip was the cause or merely the symbol, a visual shorthand for something deeper and more complicated that had already been unfolding behind closed doors. There were moments when it seemed the story might finally settle. A strong performance here, a public appearance there, signs of momentum returning. Yet even then, the footage would resurface, as if to remind everyone that unfinished stories have a way of reclaiming attention. It was reposted by new audiences who had missed it the first time, introduced with fresh shock, as though it had just been discovered. Time did not dull its impact. It sharpened it. The most haunting scenes were not in the footage itself, but in the years that followed. Yu Menglong standing just slightly apart from the spotlight, present but guarded. Interviews that focused more on craft and personal history. A deliberate narrowing of what was shared and what was withheld. It felt like watching someone learn to live with a question mark attached to their name, not fighting it openly, but carrying it quietly. In this way, the footage became more than a clip. It became a mirror reflecting how quickly narratives are built and how slowly they dissolve. It showed how a few seconds can outgrow their frame and become a chapter that refuses to end. It rhymed with earlier stories of artists caught between visibility and vulnerability, between what is shown and what is protected. The pattern was familiar, even if the details were unique. What continues to fascinate is not whether the footage holds a hidden truth, but why it still matters. Perhaps it's because it arrived without explanation and was met with silence instead of closure. Or perhaps it's because it exposed a fragile space between public image and private reality, a space that audiences are endlessly drawn to but rarely allowed to enter. The clip didn't just follow Menglong. It followed the audience too, challenging them to question how much they really know and how much they simply assume. Years later, the footage still circulates, still sparks debates, still inspires new interpretations. It has outlived trends, algorithms, and even some conversations that first surrounded it. It exists now as a kind of legend, passed down through reposts and reactions, its meaning evolving with each retelling. And Menglong, whether by choice or necessity, continues forward with it woven into the background of his story. In the end, the most powerful thing about the unexplained footage is its restraint. It never reveals enough to satisfy, never disappears enough to forget. It lingers in the space between, where imagination does the work facts refuse to do. And as long as it remains unexplained, it will continue to rhyme with the past, echo into the present, and follow Menglong into whatever chapter comes next, quiet, unresolved, and impossible to ignore. As time moved forward, the footage stopped being just a clip and started behaving like a ghost that knew exactly when to appear. It surfaced during moments that should have been clean, celebratory, uncomplicated. A new announcement would drop, and suddenly the comment sections would twist back to that same unanswered moment. A candid photo would trend, and people would line it up beside still frames from a clip, circling similarities, drawing lines that may or may not exist. The story kept folding back into itself, rhyming with earlier doubts, repeating familiar beats with different visuals. There were scenes that felt almost unreal, late-night live streams where fans dissected the footage frame by frame, slowing it down until motion became theory. Blurry pixels were treated like evidence, shadows like confessions. Someone would claim to notice a gesture that mirrored an old interview. Another would recall a vanished schedule, a postponed appearance, a project that quietly changed direction. Each recollection added texture, making the footage feel heavier, more intentional, even though it had begun as something seemingly accidental. Menglong's public presence grew more refined, more controlled, as if every movement had learned the cost of misinterpretation. Airports became stages of restraint. Hood low, gaze steady, steps unhurried. Fans noticed how he acknowledged them warmly but briefly, like someone careful not to invite too much projection. The footage followed him there too, stitched into montages of before and after, as if his life could be split cleanly at that single point in time. The illusion was powerful, even if reality was more complex. What made the situation gripping was the lack of confrontation. No dramatic denial, no emotional confession, no attempt to rewrite the narrative in bold strokes. Instead, there was continuity. Work continued. Appearances happened. Time passed. That calm refusal to dramatize only fed the intrigue. Silence became a canvas, and the footage was painted onto it again and again. People began to wonder whether the quiet was strategic, protective, or simply human. There were whispers of doors closing without noise, opportunities that never officially disappeared but slowly drifted elsewhere, collaborations that were rumored, then forgotten. Nothing concrete enough to accuse, nothing clear enough to defend against. The footage fit into those gaps perfectly, filling the spaces where explanation should have lived. It became the unofficial answer to every why, even when no one could prove it belonged there. Years later, the clip no longer shocked. It haunted. New viewers didn't react with surprise, but with curiosity, drawn in by the mythology built around it. This is a video everyone talks about, they'd say, as if approaching a relic, and still, it gave them nothing solid to hold. Just Menglong in a moment that felt slightly off-center, slightly unfinished, like a sentence that ends without punctuation. The power was in what it refused to be. There were moments when the story nearly broke open. a vague comment taken out of context, a behind-the-scenes photo that sparked sudden theories. For a brief second, it felt like answers might finally surface. Then, just as quickly, the noise faded, leaving the footage untouched, unchanged, waiting. It didn't need reinforcement. Its longevity had already proven its grip. What kept the narrative alive was how perfectly it echoed earlier patterns. Other artists, other moments, other careers marked by a single unexplained turn. Audiences recognized the rhythm instinctively. The rise, the interruption, the quiet recalibration. Menglong's story slid into that familiar melody, not because it was identical, but because it resonated. The footage became the chorus everyone remembered, even if they couldn't sing the verses. In private moments caught by distant lenses, Menglong appeared thoughtful rather than burdened. There was no visible collapse, no public unraveling. If anything, there was growth, a steadier presence, a deeper focus on craft, a sense of intention that felt earned rather than reactive. And yet, the footage never stopped trailing him, as if reminding the world that progress doesn't erase unanswered questions. It simply moves alongside them. The most compelling scenes were imagined rather than seen. What happened just before the camera rolled? What was said after it stopped? Who noticed first? Who chose not to comment? Those unseen moments became as important as the clip itself. Living in a collective imagination where facts blur into feeling. The footage thrived there, immune to correction, resistant to closure. Even now, when it resurfaces, it does so with a strange familiarity, not as breaking news, but as a reminder, a quiet nudge that some stories aren't meant to be resolved quickly, if ever. It continues to follow Menglong not as an accusation, but as a question, one that bends with time, adapts to context, and refuses to settle. And perhaps that is why it endures. Not because it exposes something definitive, but because it captures uncertainty so perfectly. A few seconds that learn how to last for years. A moment that keeps rhyming with the past while walking steadily into the future. As long as the footage remains unexplained, it will remain alive, circling, echoing, and quietly shaping the way Menglong's story is seen, remembered, and retold.